Hello, my name is Gretel and I am an intuitive, a human guide, a Reiki practitioner and also a mentor. And I believe in helping people to understand themselves better through the human experience, through intuitive guidance and through spirituality. Welcome to the channel, I'm really happy to have you here. Today I want to talk about the different stages of kind of whatever you want to refer to it as, a spiritual awakening, a becoming more conscious, self-development. There is a lot of layers to it, and personally for me I want to share something today in relation to where I started, how I used to be before I started any self-development and before I went on a spiritual journey, and also leading to my ADHD diagnosis, which I had early last year. So for me, I grew up in a pretty normal, family, but there was a lot of conditioning placed onto me to be a certain person and to always have how other people thought in the forefront of my mind by the way that I was speaking, the actions that I took, down to the job that I had. And I think for me I felt very stifled, and I basically just wanted to escape and I rebelled. I never really felt comfortable in social situations because I didn't really know who I was, and I was trying to be somebody that I thought other people wanted me to be. And I started experimenting with drugs and alcohol when I got to the age of about 16, probably 15, 16. And I went on to do that till late 20s. I went out most weekends. This was more the heavy kind of partying, and drug taking and drinking happened a bit later down the line, but I did start experimenting around that time. And yeah, it was used in the end to cover up how I was feeling, because I had really debilitating social anxiety, which I know now was linked to ADHD. And again, the conditioning that was placed onto me, I didn't understand who I was as a person because I'd spent my whole life trying to be somebody else. So I used the drugs and alcohol to escape, because I just wanted to escape my own body, the physical symptoms I had when I was around anybody, and even when I was on my own I would get physical symptoms such as trembling hands, sweating hands. I would get palpitations, my heart would be racing, my body would just be tight, I would be ruminating over things that had been said or whatever. It was a constant anxiety with me, and the drugs and alcohol helped me to escape from that. And so that's what I did for a long time, basically, to try and escape reality, escape who I was. And I ended up in a relationship that was abusive, psychologically, emotionally, and it did a lot of damage to me. And I also, the drugs and alcohol were the basis of the relationship. And in the end, it took me about 5 or 6 times to leave the relationship. But when I did actually pluck up the courage to go, I then closed the door on drugs and alcohol. Well, I still did drink after that. But that's something that I don't really do that much now. But I don't put any pressure on it. Like, if I want to have a drink, I'll have a drink. If I don't, I won't. So, but I came away, most importantly, from the drugs. In particular, cocaine was one of the things that I used to go to because it made me feel confident. It just made me feel good. It made me feel like I could say the things that I didn't have the confidence to say without anything. And it just made me feel that confidence that I wanted to feel in myself normally, and that confidence that I feel now. So yeah, I walked away from that relationship and I left the drugs behind. And it was really at that stage, and that was, before I go any further, that was about 8 years ago now. It might be longer. And I didn't have, at that point then, it really highlighted to me how bad it was, how rock bottom my self-esteem was, how rock bottom my self-worth was, how much I didn't know who I was. It was almost like I'd entered this new phase of my life where I had zero confidence and just did not know who I was at all. And when I first met my partner, who I'm with now, he's my soulmate, my best friend. He's been a massive part in my healing journey. When I met him about 6 months later, I remember even struggling to have conversations on the phone because I felt so anxious and worried about how I was going to be perceived. And again, this links into the ADHD, which is why I wanted to do this video, because there is so many different layers, and I just want people to understand that it's not an overnight fix when you're looking to change and become a better version of yourself and release the things that no longer serve you. You can get to a really, really good stage like where I am now, but there is different layers to it. And yeah, and I would struggle to go and even have a sit down meal with him. I remember going really into myself, being very, very aware of how I was feeling. And there was one particular time where he was quite concerned about me, and he said, you know, are you okay? You don't seem to be yourself. And the only way that I could really get through that and relax into it was by having a couple of glasses of wine. And this is how bad I was. You know, I started, before I met John, dipping my toes into the spiritual side of things. I went to yoga, I started journaling, I started meditating, I started doing all the things that I could possibly do myself to help myself. But I did get to a point where I felt very, very stuck and couldn't move past what I know now is conditioning that was placed on me. So human programming, should I say, from my parents, conditioning from the world, you know, from society. There was the anxiety, there was dealing with all the emotions of the drugs and how I'd abused myself for such a long time because I was just riddled with guilt and shame. And, you know, there was also the ADHD, which I had no idea that I had. And I ended up working with some coaches, some mentors, which I did for probably on and off for a couple of years, and that absolutely changed. It changed my life. It gave me the tools that I needed to deal with anything that comes along now. You know, there's something that I've been dealing with recently. I'm not going to talk about that on this because it's too much in one video, but I will share that. And if I didn't have those tools from those times of working with those coaches and those mentors, I wouldn't be able to get through those times. And I'm truly grateful for that, because it taught me to accept myself, to love myself again, and that the past is the past. And the more that I understood about myself, the more everything that I'd done up until that point made sense as well. So it's a beautiful journey to go on, and I would recommend it to anybody that, you know, has that nudge, has that feeling. Like, I always knew deep down that the way I felt I shouldn't feel, and that I would do whatever it took to feel like I do now, peaceful. I'm at peace with myself. I feel peaceful inside, and that inner peace creates happiness on the outside as well, and it radiates out. And the more that you can get rid of all of that surface level stuff, the more that you can feel, the more love you can feel for yourself, and the more love that you can give to other people as well. But what I want to touch base on today as well, because I know that this is going to help some people out there, because this is a biggie. I did all of that work and it was fantastic, and it changed my life, and for a long, long time I was, you know, happy, and I was just going about doing whatever. But there was always something that I didn't quite understand about myself, something that felt different. I still felt very overwhelmed in social situations. I have always found it really hard to shut out the noise around me, which is, and the noise inside of me. Obviously, I've got the tools to be able to manage that now, but it's something that I have trouble regulating, which I know now is linked to ADHD. And there was always something, and I just thought, oh, this is just part of me. I've just got to accept it. I've just got to keep looking at why did I feel that way in that situation. Let's use it as an experience. Let's see what I can take away from it. But it carried on and carried on and carried on to the point that I started feeling deflated, and it was really getting on top of me. Why was I struggling so much in certain situations? Why did I feel so sensitive to people's opinions or thoughts? Or why was I preempting this, judgment? Because I'd done all of the work that I felt I needed to do to feel good, which I did feel good, but there was still that element of myself that I just didn't understand. And I started looking into ADHD probably 12 months before I actually got diagnosed. And I read a couple of books. You might be able to see there's actually one on the shelf up there. Actually, for anybody for any women wondering whether they do have ADHD, or guys, I mean, it says women with ADHD, but all guys as well. This is such a fantastic book, and it is so self-explanatory. It literally, all of the chapters are like this: ADHD and emotional dysregulation. I think there's, let me just find another one, ADHD and money management. Let's just get another one. ADHD and time management. It's really, so like, say if there's something in particular, like there was something to do with my sleep and relationships, and I would just literally flick right to that particular section. So that is a really, really good book. If you haven't been diagnosed, you suspect you are, or you want to learn more about it, or you've been diagnosed and you still want to learn more about it, that's a really, really good book. But yeah, so I got to the point where I thought, I've got to get a diagnosis for me, because I need to get that so I can go, yeah, that's what it is. I can now start to fully accept me for me. And that was actually like the, I'm trying to think of the saying. It was like the last piece of the puzzle for me, because I'd done all of these other things, and I've got the tools now. At the end of the day, life is an experience. We are a soul having a human experience. We're always going to go through adversity. We're always going to experience things that might hurt us or upset us. But the key to that is learning to thrive in those situations, and learning to love. I actually heard something recently, learning to love the good, the bad and the ugly. Whatever happens to you, it is loving that experience and accepting that this is my experience, this is what I'm here to go through, and I'm going to love it anyway. And that really is the key to growth, to happiness, to inner peace. So yeah, when I got the diagnosis for the ADHD, it answered so many questions for me, and it really, really has helped me to fully learn now to embody. And all those funny little quirks that I had, or not being able to hide it when I felt a certain way, and thinking, oh, well, I can't be like that because I've got to people please, or, like, I'm really learning to embody myself more, and, like, just go along with those little quirks. And now I understand what it is. That is the key. It's having that awareness and having that understanding of what it is. And when you do understand that, it's literally everything that that you need. Awareness is key, and that's what I say to everybody. It's what I say to my clients. Awareness is key, and also everything has to start with you. You can't change anything if you don't do something about it, and you're not inquisitive, and you don't look into it, and you don't want to change. It won't change. It'll stay the same. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. That there's a lot of layers when you start to go from an outdated version of yourself that no longer serves you into a new version of yourself. And we're always evolving and we're always changing. That is just the circle of life. And so it's just important to be kind to yourself and to look at it as a life journey. It's not something that happens overnight. You don't just arrive in a place of perfection. Perfection's not even a thing, you know. Nothing is perfect. So yeah, be kind to yourself, and you know, if you're kind of on a similar journey to me and you've done the work and you feel like there's still something there and you just don't understand, and you feel that you've got ADHD, it literally could be the missing piece of the puzzle for you. And I know how much it helped me to get that diagnosis and to be able to share that with other people as well. That's a whole new part of my journey, being able to talk to people about my ADHD diagnosis, and it brings other people out of the woodwork as well, and you get each other. And when you're speaking to another ADHDer who's got exactly the same brain as you, you just click because you get each other. So yeah, I hope that this reaches whoever it needs to reach. And if you want any guidance or anything, just pop any comments in and I'll do my best to come back to you. Thanks for being here, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos, because I'd love to try and grow this YouTube channel now, and help people with the human experience from my experience, and you know, through intuitive guidance as well along the way. Lots of love.